And I want to start by welcoming all the visitors to the gallery who are here both to advocate for an end to direct provision, or indeed many of them are recipients of direct provision themselves. I want to welcome you here, and I want to welcome the debate. We have a motion on the programme for this Dáil to end direct provision, and it's signed to date by 37 deputies. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of private member time to put that motion, so in a different context, Minister, I'm sure you could respond to me. But I want to start by saying that I do welcome your attempt to reform the system, but I want to disagree with the reform of something that is rotten to the core. And just to say to the Fianna Fáil deputies who have left, it's a shame really there's such a low participation in this debate this morning, but I know...
The last Cancora had to go. I was actually asked to stand in, so I had to fit in for a few minutes.
My minister,
and he will be back shortly, just to be fair to everybody.
Yeah. But just to say, my Minister taking away on this, I do recognise there's a lot of stuff on, not least to say Paul Murphy has had to go to the courts, and other missing deputies are up at the forecourts with the Jobstown, or the courts with the Jobstown people. There's a lot on, but this is important. And what I want to say that's important about it is the system doesn't work, Minister. It's been in existence since 1999, and it was actually Fianna Fáil that brought it in and maintained it for most of that period of time. So, you know, just to the deputies, I welcome their Damascus conversion on this issue, but they did maintain it for a long time. But what we are looking at, declared by the United Nations, Amnesty International, Justice McMahon himself, who delivered the report, is an inhumane, degrading system, and to quote McMahon, that has left people like ghosts. They are dehumanised and oppressed. I want to ask you, Minister, even though you can't answer me now, you might answer me in writing. Do you agree with that statement from Justice McMahon? And more importantly, would you agree with him that we give a complete amnesty to everybody who is in that system for over 5 years? Of course you need a reception centre for refugees and asylum seekers when they arrive in this country, but you don't leave them in it so that they're rearing their children in it, so that they're living their lives in it for a long, long period of time. One woman I met has a 12-year-old daughter who was born in the reception centre. She only got out of it when the child was 12. That is wrong, and the mark of that will be left on that child and others for a long, long time. The other issue is mentioned by other deputies is the question of the right to work and the right to study, because with every hungry belly there comes a pair of hands. And the reason for the high levels of mental ill health and depression in direct provision is the denial of the basic human ability to do things, to toil, to be able to change the world around you, to make an impact on the planet. That's what distinguishes us as human beings. And they are just not allowed to do that at all. So of course they're depressed, and of course the mental health levels are very low. And therefore, I think at the very least we need to recognise that reception centres such as this are totally inappropriate for people who are going to stay within the state for long periods of time. They need to be given the freedom to work, to make a contribution to society, and they certainly need to be given the freedom to use their brain and study and do third-level degrees and improve their lives. If we can provide them even with that, we would be making a huge step forward. But we can't, because of the nature of the direct provision system itself. In your speech, Minister, I noticed you made reference many times to the housing crisis. And here I want to tackle an argument that is out there in society. I get it myself, and I'm sure I'm going to get it again after this debate today. How can we look after them when we can't look after our own? And I want to reject this idea, because our own indeed are not being correctly looked after, if there's such a thing as our own. I, however, regard everybody here as my own. Whom I don't regard as my own are the people who are benefiting from the low corporation tax and refusing to pay it, the bankers and the developers who brought this country into a crisis, the people who are at the receiving end of the scandals around NAMA at the moment, who are profiting hugely from this. Whom I regard as my own is everybody who lives in this country. And of course we're able to look after them all if we were to justly and correctly implement a share out of the wealth, to take back the empty properties, to fix them up, to make housing accommodation available for all. We have more than enough resources to do so and to build decent social housing. In the interim, we cannot declare that one section of the population has to be isolated and treated in this way away from the rest of the population. And just to reiterate something that was said by others here, the figures of profits that have been made from the direct provision system over the years are outrageous. Mosney was paid 100 million by the state and has made a donation of 4,000 to the Fianna Fáil party. Armagh has a turnover of 223 million in 2013. Barlow Properties received 40 million from the state to run 5 centres. East Coast Catering got 90 million since the year 2000, and that's up to 2013. So when you ask us, Minister, I want to appeal to people here to give me ideas about, you did say this in your state, that you would welcome applications from groups and organisations with proposals to provide and run and manage accommodation centres. I would like to say to you that yes, we can give you proposals, but not to manage and run accommodation centres that intern people for decades. And yes, I am sure there are organisations out there who have wonderful ways of treating people humanely. The main thing, however, is to give them the right to work, the right to housing and the right to study. You do that and then you have a community who are contributing fairly to society.